Well, Neil, thank you very much for joining us today. Here we go again. The World Championship is upon us once more. How are you feeling?
Yeah, feeling really good. No matter what happens during the championship, it'll certainly be my best ever season. So yeah, going into it with kind of full confidence, which I always have done, and yeah, feeling really good about my game because I've managed to tackle all kinds of obstacles this season, and so I think that is certainly going to help in terms of having the right amount of resilience required to win.
Well, yeah, just the four titles this season, Neil. But is it? Have you ever been in better shape heading into the Crucible, do you think?
No, not at all, because I believe that I've found the kind of like the right formula to be able to tackle all kinds of different opponents and kind of stop making excuses when I've been there with certain things and stuff. I've talked about the tight space and the wall and just all sorts of things. So I think it's time I sort of took responsibility myself and just kind of go there. It's six pockets, green cloth, and an opponent sitting in the chair. So it'll be more down to how I approach things rather than my opponent. And the way I've approached things this season has been really good. I've found a really good balance with attacking play, and I thought I've played a really good brand of snooker this season. A lot of big breaks, incredibly successful. Five major finals, winning four of them. So yeah, I think that I've got the right balance in my game now, and I know what to sort of take forward for the rest of my career. And so yeah, I just got to focus on my own game really, and not to worry about other things that go on. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It's easier said than done, obviously, but it's been something that I've been able to do well this season.
Well, absolutely. And quite similar to last year, really. You went into the tournament off the back of winning a couple of the big events. I think it was the UK and the Tour Championship last season.
Yeah.
And you've obviously this season, the Players Championship or Tour Championship recently, the Masters and the English Open. And you're obviously doing well to win one tournament, given out the standard nowadays. But the fact that you've won the bigger events again, beating the best players on a regular basis, you must have taken so much confidence from all of that.
Yeah, because sometimes you can win some events which are quite smaller, which are, not as, you don't have the same kind of media and TV exposure. Whereas the tournaments I've won this season have all been huge tournaments. You could probably say maybe the English Open is like one of the home nations events, so maybe smaller than the other three that I won. But it's still a massive occasion, playing John Higgins in the final. And that was the first time kind of, I think, going back to Milton Keynes where it could be full crowds there, and so that was also a really special occasion as well, because Milton Keynes, that venue was so good to us during the pandemic that I think that actually made it really special, probably even more special than ordinarily maybe than what it would have been. So all the tournaments I've won have been big tournaments. I've played really well, performed very well in the finals, and so that kind of fills me with confidence. And I know no matter what, like I said, that it'll go down as my best ever season by probably some distance, I'd say.
Well, yeah, because you are renowned for keeping a close eye on all things statistics and records and that sort of thing. They do matter to you, and the fact that you've won 4 titles in a single season for the first time, what does that mean to you? The fact that you've achieved that.
Yeah, you always want to improve on your personal bests. That's always what I've focused on. I've never focused on other people's careers and comparing yours to others. I always believe that, much like Olympic athletes, that you can't win every race, but just always try and focus on a personal best. So that's why you see some Olympians, that maybe finish 8th or 9th in a final race. If they've ran their personal best, sometimes they can be happier than the person who got the silver medal. So that's always been my philosophy, and always focusing on your personal bests. And I've been able to do that. I won 4 this season. And they're not just kind of smaller events, like no disrespect to some of the other events. But the tournaments I've won the English Open, John Higgins in the final, winning the Masters, which is top 16 in the world. Then I won the Players Champs, which is top 16 in the world on the 1-year list, so even harder to get into. And then the Tour Championship, which I won last year. So obviously first person to defend that title, which is the top 8 in the world on the 1 year list. So it's arguably the hardest tournament to get into, and I've managed to win it back to back. And to win it in the way that I did was very traumatic. And the players that I beat, the 2 greatest players who have ever played the game in Ronnie O'Sullivan and John Higgins. So that gave me just unbelievable pride and satisfaction in being able to win that event.
And rightly so. And you seemed genuinely emotional as well after the final. With you know, you could see the way you interacted with John afterwards, which obviously from your perspective, completing the turnaround, a remarkable achievement, but you could see it was quite an emotional one for you.
Yeah, because, I think everyone at home would have been willing John to win, and I would have been thinking exactly the same if I was watching it back. And, John's such a great champion of the game, fantastic guy. And I think that, obviously he's had a few hard losses this season in finals, and I'm sure a lot of people, the neutrals, would have been cheering him on. And I guess for me to kind of come back the way I did, and I think he was probably a bit too harsh on himself a little bit. I think that, he didn't do that. He missed a couple of balls, but it wasn't like he kind of collapsed or couldn't get over the line. Just that, I produced under the circumstances, probably a shot that maybe only myself or Judd Trump could probably get under the circumstances. And I managed to win that frame. That was at 9-4, a long red that I cut in, where if I miss it, I lose. Simple as that. And it's probably like a pot that you maybe get 1 out of 10 if you're lucky. So I think when you factor in some of those things that happened, John landing dead straight on a red along the cushion, where if he had an angle, he could have come out for the black. I think that would have been maybe 9-5 or 9-6 or something. Possibly even 9-7. And then, just the things that had to happen for me to get the chances I needed to claw the deficit back happened. Nobody can ever come back from 9-4 and win 10-9 playing perfect snooker where the opponent doesn't get chances. You do need some things to go your way as well, and all that seemed to happen. But I had to stand up to the pressure as well. I had to keep believing. I had to keep at it. I had to stay positive. I didn't do much wrong. John played unbelievable to go 9-4. I would have had no complaints whatsoever. He won 10-4. I just was outplayed. He was just playing an absolutely amazing snooker. And so I guess the fact that, I didn't do much wrong, and I still felt very, very good within myself. That gave me the chance to come back. And it was when he was at the table and he potted the red. I think he needed like 4 snookers after I made the 7-yard break. And I was sitting down in my chair, and I was drinking the bottle of, I was just having a sip of water, and I didn't realize he snookered himself on all the colors when he was trying to get like the 4 snookers. And he was at that corner of the table, and he just sort of turned around and shook my hand, and I was still sort of sitting down. I didn't have time to get up. And then, I felt it's one of the few times I felt genuinely kind of really sort of not sorry for someone, because he's been such a great champion. He's won so many things, but it was just one of those things where maybe you don't show your delight in winning. I think that's something I've learned to do over the years, is that you need to be respectful to your opponent, and understand that they're maybe going through something that's obviously pretty tough on the table, where it's a really tough defeat. I sort of bottled it in, and to show my respect to John, because it wouldn't have been nice if I just sort of jumped up and celebrated. Where I did that when I was a little bit younger. You maybe don't sort of take into that into account when you're younger with your opponent and how they might be feeling. And it's something that I've learned to do over the last, for quite a few years now. That was just obviously with complete sort of respect to John there.
Well, absolutely. And as we say, you've been fantastic shape heading to the Crucible, where you're a former champion, of course, and you've reached the quarterfinals in the last 3 years, I believe it is. But this year, is it, as we were saying a little bit earlier on, is it just a case of just be focusing even more on yourself, just what you can control? Do you think that's what you need to do a little bit differently this year, do you think?
Yeah, and it's like I say, it's easier said than done. I think that the last few years in the quarterfinals, I've come up against opponents who are very good at kind of sticking in there. And it was John 3 years ago, where it was a really tough, grueling match, and I allowed things to maybe get a little bit too scrappy. Against Mark, against Selby in the quarters again, I got dragged into just the wrong style of snooker for me. Even though I competed very well in the safety department, he kept edging the frames on the black and the pink, and the score line didn't really reflect the whole match actually, because I think I lost something like 4 or 5 frames on the black, and they're just the worst ones to lose when you're playing Mark, because generally if you lose a frame on the black to Mark, it's probably a 45-50 minute grueler. So and against Karen as well, I let him off the hook as well. I should have pulled away from the match, and I remember looking back at it, I knocked back a few shots where I would have normally taken them on, trying to play a better safety shot and put him in trouble, and didn't execute the safety as well, and I left him kind of like the shot that I should have gone for. He knocked it in and ended up like clearing up. So it's just, and this season I've kind of just stopped doing that completely, whereas previous seasons I've been able to do it for sort of in and out. I've been aggressive when I've needed to, and then sometimes I've gone into my shell a little bit too much, trying to protect leads, or just kind of not having the urgency, I suppose, to kind of really keep the foot down. I wouldn't say it's kind of like going into your shell where you're getting negative. It's just like you're not keeping that foot down and maybe just relaxing, thinking your opponent's going to fall over, where, especially in the World Championships, that doesn't happen. People just don't kind of give up. You need to keep the foot down. And, the last few years, I've sort of let the foot off the gas a little bit, and I've allowed my opponents to get back into the match, and all of a sudden, you're in for a coin toss, and I'm good enough to win matches where I can really sort of pull away from my opponents when I'm playing well. So that'll be my focus certainly in the Worlds, is to I'd love to. I mean, you don't want to lose, but I'd love to kind of lose a match and hold my hands up and say, it was a great match, great. My opponent just played too good. And the last time I probably said that was maybe 2015, when I lost to Barry Hawkins in the quarters, where we had an unbelievable final session there, where I was 7-3 down. Again, I was playing too negative in that match and kind of woke up and started being over aggressive. And then I got back into the match, and, Barry won 13-12. And that's probably the only time where I felt that, my opponent just played too good. So, when you lose matches like that, where your opponents play really well and you don't happen to win for whatever reason, then that's fine. But the last few years have been really annoying, because I felt as though I've kind of let my opponents off the hook or got dragged into a style of snooker which doesn't suit me.
So just basically knowing that you've given everything you can your end, you've taken care of what you can control, so long as you've got no regrets in that regard, that's the thinking, really.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look at the football yesterday, right? With City and Liverpool. It was just like bang, bang, bang. It was just like unbelievable to watch, where, some of my matches probably in the World Championships would be a bit more like a Chelsea and United, where it's a little bit sort of defensive and, too much respect for the opponent. Whereas Liverpool and City, like, they're just like going at it, it's amazing to watch. And I like to think that I've adopted a lot of that, and I've certainly been inspired by the way that those two go about it when they go head to head. I think that, look at mine and Ronnie's semi-final of the Tour Championships, where again, it was just like bang, 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 loads of centuries. It's just really fun and exciting to be a part of. That first session we played, where Ronnie threw absolutely everything at me to go 4-1 up, and then I've come back at him with 3 big breaks for 4-all, and I was loving it. That's really enjoyable snooker to play, and I got nothing to prove in my career, so I don't really know why. There's just no need for me to ever go back to trying to play, trying to win sort of frames tactically or anything anymore, because I've got the long game, I've got the scoring, so I don't need to do it. So why not have fun and play to my strengths?
Well, exactly. And just looking back at this season, obviously the big tournaments you've won, but you've doubled up at the Masters. That was your second win there. You've doubled up at the Tour Championship. Is that a good omen, perhaps, do you think?
Maybe. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, the Tour Championships, I guess, is best out of 19. So that certainly is fantastic preparation for the World Championships. And I won kind of all my matches in a different kind of way. I think Mark Allen and I just absolutely almost played perfect snooker in the first session. And then he's come back at me quite well. And then I've stood up to that pressure and finished it off well. Again, Ronnie's got off to a fly against me. I've come back. John's got off to a flyer. I've come back in a decider. Ronnie was the decider as well. So I feel as though I kind of dealt with everything that was thrown at me really well. And, you can't really be put under any more pressure than what I was in the Tour Championship. So I think that certainly gives me it gives me a lot of optimism going ahead. Although, you know, I didn't really need it, but it certainly helps knowing that you can get the job done under, you know, the most amount of pressure.
In different ways as well, as you say, you know, you've demonstrated, which you've obviously got all the different dimensions of the game, but you've demonstrated them effectively in that tournament, haven't you? And with your victories in general this season, and you sound like you feel you're better equipped than you have been in that sense.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and just completely stop making any excuses or let any little things kind of, you know, annoy you or whatever. You know, I know I've talked a bit about like the tight spaces around the Crucible, and yes, it is tight, but you know, like Mark Williams is like about the same height as me, so yeah, he doesn't sort of, you know, he doesn't ever talk about or make excuses. So you know, if I bump into a cameraman or whatever, then so be it. You know, I just got to get down, play the shots, and try to win. So, you know, because look, I've blitzed through the first opening rounds, the first 2 rounds, you know, really well in many years, and it's exactly the same setup for the quarterfinal as the last 16. So there's no reason to kind of to let anything like that kind of affect me in those matches. I just got to play the matches and play aggressive and have fun. You know, enjoy it. I've had an unbelievable season. You know, I've had the kind of season that most people kind of dream of having a career, and I've managed to do it all in one season. So, you know, I'm very fortunate to be able to do what I do for a living, and you know, and I think this season I've had so much fun playing the sport as well. So probably the most fun certainly that I've ever had. So I've just got to try and carry that through, and yeah, just have fun, enjoy the game, play aggressive. You know, there's been many worse things going on around the world. So I think it's important that as a professional sportsman, when you're in the limelight and that you portray a very positive sort of message for everyone watching around the world.
Well, exactly, and very well said, Neil. And obviously, in the World Championship, you know, you never look too far ahead. You can't afford to, really. It's very much one ball at a time, I think, at the Crucible, if anything else. But what would it mean to you if you could go all the way again, become the first overseas player as well to become a multiple champion?
Yeah, that's true. Actually, I never even thought about that one. So, yeah, that'd be good. I guess, yeah, the first overseas player to win it twice. That'd be awesome. You know, I guess that goes to show you how hard it is for an overseas player to win it. So, yeah, again, it would be, you know, inspiring other players from around the world to give it a go. And I think that, you know, that's what it's all about is having the ability to inspire others. I think is wonderful, and yeah, so hopefully I can do that over the couple of weeks during the championships.
Well, we keep our fingers crossed. Neil Robertson, thank you very much.
Cheers, bud. Thank you.